All right, good afternoon, everyone, or good morning for anybody on the west coast of the U.S. This is Mark Wagner with Virtuoso Air Auto and Insurance, and I'd like to join you for the second of our webinars this week on the new Sabre Red Workspace and going over some of the basic components of the upgraded features that Sabre has incorporated into the new tool, as well as some of the additional options through the GUI interfaces and interfacing with other technologies that we discussed on Tuesday, such as the widgets that actually move outside of the Sabre Red Workspace into other applications and brings data in for the users to use that has not been a feature of Sabre over the years. So a couple of things before we get completely started. As we talked about on Tuesday, the Sabre Red Workspace webinars are being recorded, and once we download the files, we will link them to the virtuoso.com information pages under the Sabre Professional Development section. And we'll make an announcement for anyone that is on the Virtuoso Air Auto and Insurance Facebook page, as well as you should be able by the end of tomorrow to go on and listen to those. They'll be incorporated into the Travel Academy as well, so you can access them directly through the Travel Academy, or you can access them through the Sabre Professional Development page. Secondly, I've got all participants on mute for the presentation today. So if you do have any questions or comments, or something's not working right with the webinar for you, please let me know by either typing in a message or a question in the Q&A box, or using the chat feature. Both of those are on the little black toolbar that appeared when you registered and logged on for the webinar today. And I'll definitely make sure that I have time available to answer any of those questions, as well as to go over any additional comments that you have along the way. So, as we really talked about briefly on Tuesday in the first webinar, the new Sabre Red Workspace is truly a unique, brand new, not your mother's blue screen Sabre anymore. With the focus of today being on cars, which is a quick screenshot of a car booking that I did through the new workspace, we also have the chances to go ahead and work on the hotel portion today a little bit. And so it really is a complete new graphical interfacing to what we know as the traditional classic version of Sabre. And so what I'd like to talk through today then would be the PNR component. So if you're not using client base or Sabre profiles, or if you are and you need to make updates to the actual PNR, I'll show you how you can do that through the new graphical display of the PNR. We'll spend some time with overall car bookings and how they are done through the graphical version, as well as hotel bookings. And with hotel bookings, as you'll see, there's in the current new Sabre Red, the application took many of the search functions that you have in native Sabre with commands and brought them into a graphical display. But many more hotel options are still available by using your commands as opposed to using the graphical. So I'll show you a little bit how you can integrate the two in your search process. We'll take a look at the trip summary, which is a new feature that kind of gives you a running screenshot of where you are in the booking process and allows you shortcut access to various PNR components. And then we'll finish up today with a brief demonstration of a new Sabre add-on feature of the new Sabre Red Workspace. This is a project called Trip Proposal. Now, Trip Proposal is a brand new product. It's available only with new Sabre Red Workspace, and it is available directly with Sabre at a registration fee to bring on. And Virtuoso Air is currently doing some beta testing with Trip Proposal. So I wanted you to be able to see, in case you have a desire to learn more from Sabre on the Trip Proposal, that you could bring on once you've upgraded. So that's what we're going to talk through today. So as we talked on Tuesday, and as any of you that are using new Sabre Red know, you access Sabre Red the very same way by double-clicking on the Sabre Red icon that's either in your start tray or on your desktop. So I'm going to switch over to my Sabre Red at this point that I have logged on already and get us going on that. So I need to just 1 second here, having some Oh, it would help if I went. There we go. Now we will get it. All right. Sorry about that, everybody. I do believe we are set to go. Well, it is just there. Close that up. Okay. So the new Sabre Red Workspace I have brought up on the screen, my screen share button. Let me pause this for just a minute because I am not sharing my right screen with you at this point. All right. Oh, that is not supposed to go anywhere. Okay. We'll just let that stay all by itself up there. Okay, so new Sabre Red, as you see in front of you, that we went through the basic navigational and orientation components. I've already booked a reservation, a test reservation that we're going to use today in air. And I did that so that we could start by looking at the new feature of displaying the PNR using the command helper. And as we said, the command helper is activated with the gray command helper button in the upper right corner of the new Sabre Red Workspace. It brings the profile, air, hotel, car, PNR, and proposal button. Now we're going to concentrate on the PNR button at this point. So I'm going to click on PNR, and you'll notice when I do, I've got a couple of options here. I can search for existing records, like I would be able to in Sabre normally, either in the current pseudo-city or in any branch pseudo-city that I would have. I can search for a traveler booking by the record locator or by the traveler last name. Once I have a reservation up, I do have the display A functionality. And once I have a PNR started, whether it's completed or not, I have this new little feature here called Add to PNR. And I'm going to start with this. Let's say you have a profile in ClientBase or in Sabre profiles where you have some information completed, but you solicit more information from your traveler and add that to the booking separately. Or you create your travel bookings from scratch without using a profile of any nature. In that case, the new Sabre Red is a fantastic way of being able to do that without having to remember the command for adding a name with a dash, or for adding a phone number with a 9 field, or figuring out if your itinerary remark is a 5 cross Lorraine or a 5 slash field. Sabre has every component of the PNR broken out into the Add to PNR button using the drop-down list. So you have your individual traveler. You can add multiple names at one time, whether it's same last name or different last names. You can, of course, add phone numbers. The address field is divided up into the agency address, your client address, or a delivery address. Your SSRs can be added from here, so special requests for wheelchairs and special meals, baggage, unaccompanied minors, pet details, or our OSI SSR detail that you can generate through here. as well as adding or updating or changing email addresses. Notice each time I select an option, it actually makes the window behind it larger so that I can select what I want to add, and then I can add those details all at one time instead of going back to this window and adding them separately. With your form of payment, you have the adding of form of payments, whether they be credit card, cash, or check. And as I scroll down, you have your frequent flyer numbers that you can add through here. Probably one of the more important ones, if you didn't use the command line to add it and wanted to get completely into the graphical way, here's where you even would add your received from field. So each of these items can be added independently, or you can just add them to the pop-up window as you see, and you would simply type the information that's requested or that's required. I'm not going to add an OSI-SSR, although I think maybe I'll just do a free text with, okay, my email address, and receive from field, and form of payment. I'll just, in my list here, select cash. And simply when you've entered all the features that you have selected, I guess it would help if I cancel this one out. So I'm just going to delete that. Add to PNR. You'll get the Sabre wait screen with your circle. And then it'll give you a little checklist of the information that you added. And then you can display from the PNR, you can display A to see the graphical features of the PNR that you've begun. And if you already had itinerary segments booked at this point, you could add those segments and display everything. I'm going to go ahead and ignore this feature simply because I want to go ahead and use the PNR display to display a record that I've already got booked. I'm going to go ahead and display with my last name, my first name here, search. And similar to a name list that you would have in the current classical version of the display, Sabre will give you a list of all the records that you have. The one nice thing about this that I really like is it has the record locator column, and any active records, it actually has your city pair showing as well. So it makes it a lot easier to determine which record it is that you want to display. Once you find it, you can go ahead and simply click the display, and this would be your new display A in the graphical version. From here, you notice a couple of things that we did not see on Tuesday, and that is that I not only have my little bar here that tells me whether I'm missing or have various components of the record. I have the little drop down which shows the agency address, receipt from, and ticketing field. You notice that I have a little button for divide or for canceling a PNR right from here as a shortcut. I didn't talk about the little breadcrumb up here in the upper left corner until now. When you have a record started, or when you have a PNR that has parts of an itinerary but not air, car, and hotel, Sabre's going to give you a little percentage completed up there. It's just a visual of what you may or may not need to add to the booking. You see the itinerary in a graphical display with my flights, a little airplane icon. You'll see little car and hotel icons or bed icons for cars and hotels as we go along. From the graphical display as well, you've got the ability to add more detail to the PNR if you needed to add any of those components. The itinerary separately we looked at briefly on Tuesday. This is where you can look at the entire itinerary. Right now I have flights booked. I can open up the panel to see the seat map if I wanted to reserve a seat off the seat map. I can reprice the itinerary. I can choose to modify the class of service or even the dates from here on my flights. I can also choose right here to delete my flights, one or all. I can choose the delete button, and a little box will open up under each segment. If I want to cancel all segments, I simply put a check mark in all of them, or I can segment select individually. I'm going to cancel that out. And if I wanted to add something to the itinerary, I have a shortcut here that allows me to add an air segment, hotel segment, car segment, or a surface segment, which we all know as an rung. My price quote does my PQ, the shortcut, as well as opening up the panel to see the rest of the price quote. If there's anything that has been built in that's fare related, you have a new area called Notes with a little I for information. And when you hover over the I for information, Sabre is going to tell you the not fare guaranteed policy, the validating carrier, and what would appear in the endorsement box if you were to generate the ticket at this particular point. I'm going to close that up. The traveler information that we briefly noted per traveler will have all of the details listed, including phone, email address. Your TSA secure flight data is also completed through here. And you can make any updates or changes or deletions if you needed to based off of whatever flight segments you have booked. Remarks, once again, are divided up based off of the type of remark in the PNR that you've already brought over. And each one of these lines has the series of 3 vertical dots. Anytime you see 3 vertical dots, it means there's more information that's available, more shortcuts to do various things of the record. The ticketing tab brings you to display T. There's nothing that I have as a TAW, so there's no data to display in this fact. And then your PNR history. PNR history is really a nice added feature. It makes reading history a little cleaner, a little nicer. You see the receipt from and every action that was taken with each action itself. So it's a nice, cleaner way of reading history. It still displays the most recent on top and the oldest towards the bottom. So your graphical PNR display is accessible once again through the PNR button. Simply have the record up and display PNR from here. Now, if you notice, I also had open my trip summary. One of the things we wanted to talk through today as well was the use of the trip summary. The trip summary is the suitcase activated over on the far right-hand side on the gray column. You'll notice that if I press the suitcase once, it closes, or again, it opens it up. The trip summary is just that. It is a summary of any record that you have completed. You have a button for Add to PNR, which is the same button that we saw up in the panel above. It lists your travelers. It lists their names. It lists any flights that you have booked. And as we add car and hotel from the trip panel, you see that it would be added as a segment through here. Now you'll notice that since I have air booked, I have the 3 vertical dots. And if I clicked on them, it gives me the ability to price those flights again, book seats or change seats, add or change air extras, and the 3 options for add hotel, add car, and add surface segment. And then I can also delete segments through here too. We're going to come back to this in just a few moments. So the trip summary at the very bottom has your end and retrieve options. Currently, you have the options for ending a PNR, for ending and retrieving the ER, the I and the IR, and then your end and ignore and clone functions. Further Sabre development may add other qualifiers or options in here that begin with the letter E, like the end and email option. At the current time, those formats are still done through the command bar. So I'm going to move over into the car booking process at this point, and I'm going to show you the car booking process really 2 ways. We're going to start up here with the manual helper, the command helper, by choosing the car icon. And you'll notice when I choose the car icon, the pop-up window appears, and similar with Air, Sabre has built in the most usable or the most identifiable car search and car booking formats. They have incorporated those into the car quote formats, or the CQ, the car location ones, which are the CL, and the airport search, which you probably know more frequently as the CF. So if you were thinking, okay, what's the difference between them? If you're a native Sabre user with formats, you can kind of look at this window and kind of get an idea of what's required for airport search, location search, and car quote. I'm going to start with the airport location. I'm going to use our itinerary and as a guide. So I'm going to say LaGuardia. We're going to look at the dates that I have here of the 5th of November. We'll just say 10 a.m. I'm not following my flights at this point. On the 8th of November, we're going to show a drop-off at 10 a.m. as well. You can either use AM or PM using the 24-hour clock in the car booking feature for right now. Under your car type, one of the nice features, Sabre has the majority of the car type 4-letter codes and their explanations in the drop-down list. It's an optional feature if I wanted it. I'm going to go ahead and type in car in here. Car extras, you can request your car rate information with extras at this point. You can also add it in the booking process itself. One of the things that I wanted to really show you right off the bat, if you have your traveler's profile in the reservation already, if you've moved that over into the Sabre booking already, you will see that if the traveler has a CD number in their profile, or if the traveler has any car ID numbers, in this case, you see I've got the Virtuoso CD number 27125 for Hertz, and you also see that I have a Hertz personal ID number as well attached. So once again, if you have your profiles completed and you move them over into Sabre before you pull up and book cars and hotels, Sabre will pull appropriate CD and ID numbers and even frequent flyer numbers over if they match. For the moment, I'm going to take these out by just simply clicking on them so I can show you the advanced qualifiers. Now notice the advanced qualifiers automatically, because they pulled over those two numbers, they defaulted to having check marks in them. I can look at rate codes, so I can add those. If I had a promotional code, a PC number, I could add that. I can, if I decided to, add a car company, not so much with the CF entry, but with the car location and the car quote. So I'm going to go ahead and enter this information by shop cars. And in doing so, I will see then a listing of the car companies in the graphical display that are available for the dates and times that I've put in for LaGuardia. You'll notice the information is plugged in up here. If I needed to make any modifications, I can click on this, and that pre-populates my current information. I could also go to the Sabre replay, the little arrow back to the left, and I could highlight that same criteria and click the select. If I didn't mention on Tuesday, the difference between the select and the execute. With qualifiers that are chosen in the command history, if I click select, the system will pull the details into the window and allow me to modify or make any adjustments. If I did command history and I chose execute, Sabre will take the criteria that I had in the window and redisplay it, reapply it automatically. In the graphical display with cars, you see the car companies' line numbers off to the left-hand side, along with the graphical display of the car company logo and name. You see the name of the company, the airport location, and if they have a shuttle. You see the size car that I've requested. You see the daily rate or the weekly rate or whatever the rate period that is being offered by the car company. And you see the rate. And if there's a circle that is highlighted in green, we talked briefly that the COG is in reference to any sort of a net fare. The COG here would be any sort of a contracted rate that you may have. The circle is in reference to the commission. So right off the bat, Advantage Rental Car has commission available for us. To receive the rest of the information, I would display the panel by clicking on the lower arrow. With the panel, I have the ability to look at the car rule widget, the makes widget. This will just pull a listing of all the makes, so you don't have to go into the car policy to review that. If you wanted to look at the full car policy, the widget will take you to exactly what pulls from Sabre in the CP display, but now it's graphically broken down per category, so you can go right to the makes category, scroll back up, you can go right to surcharges, fuel, coverages. Makes it a little bit easier and more user-friendly to access. If I have my rates and I want to look at the rates for all car companies, if I had not selected iCar, if I wanted to look at all the rates, they would appear here. I can open up the rule again. I've got the ability now to click select if I wanted to purchase the car, if I wanted to book the car. It's at this point that it pulls the complete details over again. I have my car extras. Once again, if you didn't ask for them before, you've got them here. My car frequent flyer numbers, if I had my ID number scraped over, but I deleted it from the system, so it didn't pull that back over. Likewise with the CD number. Airline frequent flyer number, because my profile had 3 frequent flyer numbers in it, it pulls in those 3 for me to make my selection. My promo, my tour code, my SI field, and then finally I can click book and Sabre will book my car. Now if I booked it from the car pad here, I want you to take a look at where Sabre displays the car booking. It put it as my segment 3. And of course, we know we would prefer, if the car matched my dates, we would prefer that the car be under segment 1 instead. In the current system, in the current new Sabre Red Workspace, they have not built in the insert after formats yet. So this is where I would still go in and do my insert after 1-3 to move the car in the classic display of Sabre. Once I do, I can display A, and the system will pull the details in when I display the itinerary from here. When I'm at my home, the car will not necessarily appear in the right location here in the summary. Where it's more important, though, is in the itinerary. So always look at your itinerary order, not so much the home itinerary order. That's one thing that Sabre is working on, or that's been reported, is the order of the segments from the summary compared to the segment order in the itinerary. What will appear on any emailed itinerary is the order that you see from this location. You'll notice when I am looking at my itinerary with the car, and something that we saw when we booked the car a second ago was the little modify button. And from here, you can go in and modify your car dates, or you can modify the details. So just like the CM entries in classical Sabre, where you can, with commands, where you can modify all the various optional features in or out, or if I wanted to modify the dates, change the pickup date, change the return date. Okay. Booking a car from the location search allows you to insert an address, whether you know the full address or just the street, a point of interest, a rail station, or you can go back to the airport or city code. One of the nice features of this option is the fact that you can use the point of interest pretty easily in the new Sabre Red. So if I wanted to do, let's say, point of interest as the Empire State Building in New York, and I wanted the 5th of November, 11 a.m. to the 8th of November. Let's do 11 a.m. again. Here I can specify the number of car companies that I want to look at. So I'm going to say 5. I want to say that I want to look for car rental companies that are within 5 miles of the Empire State Building. My car type, my car extras. I'm going to take out my details from here. And when I shop cars using the criteria from here for location, there we go. So we have locations with Alamo, with Silver Car, with a variety of car companies that are all within a 5-mile radius of the Empire State Building. I'm going to take a look, scroll down here at a couple of these to look at the full details. You would simply open the panel up once again. One of the features that is nice on the Sabre Red Workspace at this point is the fact that you have some credit card requirements, and if there's a car rental company that requires a credit card guarantee, you will see right here in between the rate per day and the total, you will see right here a little credit card emblem to designate the fact that a credit card is needed for guarantee. That would also then prompt Sabre to give you the credit card details to fill in the blank for that. One feature that I would like to pull up now that we're talking about cars and hotels is the map feature with cars. So if I click the map feature and zeroed in a little closer, you could actually then work with your traveler in a much more detailed graphical way to say, okay, the Empire State Building is at this intersection. It looks like the closest car companies would be, this location or that one. You highlight it, it'll tell you the car rental company, and you can go right to the rates, or you can select one of the details here on the right-hand panel and let the map move as you move. One of the features that you have with cars that's really a great one as well is the filter feature. If you get the entire list up and you decide, well, I don't really want Alamo to show, and I don't want budget, and I don't want enterprise, I can take those out. Or if I only wanted to look at full-size cars, I could take out all the others. If I wanted to remove my search to, let's say, only 2 miles, I could click and apply, and whoever met then that criteria would show up. So Silver Car is the provider that is showing here for cars. So when a car is booked through the panel at the top, or excuse me, through the command helper at the top, it puts the car segment as the next car segment, and then you'd want to move it around, or you would have to fill out all the details. There's another way to book a car if you wanted it to pull all of your flight details into the booking process. And the shortcut for that is using the trip summary. So if I wanted to book a car in LaGuardia, I would click the 3 vertical dots that are adjacent to my arrival, and I could do add car. And at that point, Sabre will go ahead and populate LaGuardia. It will populate my flight times and my pickup date and return date based off of the flights that I have booked. So if I shopped for a car in this case, so that you could see that Hertz would be the car company pulling up because of the 2 user credentials, since we had the ID number for my Hertz car as well. Like we saw yesterday or Tuesday with Air, the little torso appears with the Hertz loyalty number in the upper left corner. I can open this up. I can go ahead and look at all rates if I wanted to look at not just the luxury car rates, but other size cars as well. And I can select it from here. You'll notice that my Hertz number and the CD number for Virtuoso appear in the window. And then I can simply book the car from this point. When I display the PNR with the button, as I mentioned, the summary will have the car segment appearing in one location. But when I go to the itinerary itself, because I had the Advantage one, the Hertz one, is been moved down. If I had only had if I had not had the Advantage car rental, the Hertz would have moved it up into its location. So still a little bit of work Sabre's on the little glitches with the segment associated or being able to move those segments around, but you've always got the ability to go into your manual command, add the format, and then go in and display A, and then you've got your cars. Once again, the home button will have them separated, but the itinerary will have the two cars. If I wanted to go ahead and cancel the Advantage car, I can simply go through here. I can click the word delete, and that will cancel my car for Advantage so that I've got the Hertz one. If I wanted to cancel the entire itinerary, I could click the word delete, put all segments in, and cancel them from there. So cars, I won't spend a lot more time on cars. The car quote, once again, allows you the features that are required with a car quote versus those for car location and car airport search are a little different. Those that have optional do not need to be completed. Those that have the requirement, if you've not filled it out, it will error out and tell you that it needs to be done. I think the car booking process is very nicely done through the Sabre Red at this point from my my work and my training so far. Let's move over to hotels. When you select the hotel button from the command helper, and I do see that we have a couple of questions. I haven't forgotten that those are there. I will come back to those as we complete the lesson today. The hotel button has the ability to choose for hotel availability or property search. From the hotel availability, you have one box that accomplishes the airport, the city, or a particular point of interest that you want to be near. So if I use LaGuardia in this particular example, I'll still use my example here. I'll use the number of guests in the room as just one. The chain code option here, as you start typing in, you can type in the name of the hotel and the two-letter codes are associated. Or if you knew the two-letter code, you could just simply type it and tab over. It will allow you to do multiple chains in the box. Likewise, with your property name search, you've got the ability to type in from 4 characters up to the full name of the hotel. So if I wanted to type in like freehand, I could type the entire thing in, or I could type in just the first 4 letters, free. The client ID box, this is where the Virtuoso API rate would go. If you have locally other agency 3-letter rate codes that you normally use, they would go in here under the client ID box. You'll notice under the advanced qualifiers, and this is where Sabre has taken the liberty of adding several qualifiers, but you'll notice crown rating, distance and direction, the number of results, the postal or zip code, and or the street address are the only ones that they've done through here in this current release. Now, as the future of new Sabre Red goes full steam ahead, there are new hotel components that Sabre will be adding late this year or early next year. But in the meantime, every other hotel search criteria or filter that you know in a command or in a format can be used in the command bar. So I'm going to click on Shop Hotels. And so you can see how the graphical hotel displays are shown. I chose this particular market so that you could see a couple of things. Number one, just like with cars and with air, your property information has the graphical name of the hotel. You see the actual address on the same line, which I think is a great new feature. You see the mileage, your icons now, you hover your cursor over to see which ones are available. So no guesswork. There's no free Wi-Fi here, but there is a fitness center. There is a pool. There's no breakfast. There's no shuttle, but there is dining. So no guesswork on which ones are and which ones aren't. You have your crown rating, which Sabre crown ratings come from North Star Media currently. And then you see your rate range. Likewise with cars, you have the map view. You can zero in on the map view. One thing about the map view that I didn't point out that I can point out quickly now is there's a satellite function of the map view. So if you'd rather look at the map view from a satellite perspective as opposed to just a flat map, you can look at a dark region feature of it, or you can look at a light feature of it. As you zero in, you see each of the hotels are identified by the rate per night. You simply can click on it and pulls the hotel from the list on the right. If I clicked one of them on, it'll zero in and tell you which one that is. I'm going to close the map out so that you can see another feature. If your traveler has a frequent flyer or a frequent hotel program number in profile that's come over, like mine with the Hyatt, it brings over the Hyatt frequent guest number and identifies that like it did for air and car. One good, great updated feature with new Sabre Workspace is you no longer have to look for hotels in a column with the letter N for negotiated. When you use a rate code that your city has applicable, that rate code actually now will appear below the amenities. So we know that these properties are Virtuoso properties. They have the API showing directly below it, so very easy to identify. And now I know you're saying, is there any way that I can isolate just those that say API? Well, of course I can. For Virtuoso properties, I can go to the filter and I can click on the little API option, click apply, and there we are, folks. So for the first time, yes, you can now sort your hotels by certain criteria that you're looking for simply by using the sort button. And so this is a great way to isolate the Virtuoso hotels out from a larger list. Another thing that's a lot easier to do when I open the panel up for a Virtuoso property, I have the property details, which we would know as the HOD display, nicely organized by topic. I've got pictures and videos that Sabre has brought in to the system, incorporated from a variety of sources. And you have your hotel amenities in icon form. You open up the icon and you see each and every one of them, not only in picture form, but also in an explanation of what each one represents. To view the rates that are available, simply click the View Rate button. All of the rates appear like they would in the regular current version of Sabre. One nice benefit is with the Virtuoso rates, when I open up the rate panel, I don't need to go to the HRD anymore to look at the Virtuoso amenities. Virtuoso amenities are going to appear directly in the room description when I open up the rate panel per that rate or for that rate. You see all the details with respect to the guarantee, the cancellation time, the amount per night. We see the green dots, so we know it's commissionable. If you wanted to look at the full rate, you can do one of two things. You can either open up the box like a fair rule and look at the HRD in a graphical sense. But if you wanted to look at the HRD like you would normally have seen it in current blue screen Sabre, you've got the ability to do that as well. And then just click on Book. And your traveler name, so one nice feature for hotels is if you have multiple names in the record, you simply select the name that you wish to bring it from here. Your traveler frequent guest number moves over. Frequent flyer numbers move over if you have them. The guarantee credit card information also comes over. Now, I'm not going to book this hotel, but just so you can see the credit card guarantee, this is a training credit card, so I'm not going to do the Park Hyatt on this card at the moment for the $6,800. But this is where you would pull your credit card information if it came over from your profile. I can add in from the rollaway bed or the crib or the extra person in here. And then I've got my SI for adding additional details from there. And then just click Reserve Room, which would be similar to the car booking, and we would go. I'm going to go ahead and go back. A nice feature with hotels is built in between the various functionalities. I've got the little arrow to the left, just to the left of the name of the hotel. So if I did the little arrow to the left, it will take me back one step. If I click it again, it will take me back one step. I think this is, in a user-friendly ability, this is one of the best things that Sabre had done on this in quite some time with hotels. So I'm going to go back here and I'm going to take out my, I'm going to modify my search with command history. I'm going to go back up here. I'm going to take the API rate out. I'm going to shop for hotels again because I do want to go ahead and show you the hotel booking for non-API rates. As you scroll down, Sabre will continue to find hotel rates. Notice how Sabre showed 30 rates. One of the features that you have in your options box, under set qualifiers, under results, you can actually now set the number of results that you see. It defaults to 30, but you can actually increase that to 50 or to 100 in this current environment. This would prohibit you from seeing more than 100, but on the same token, it would isolate it and Sabre wouldn't show you 900 records or 900 hotel options for your city. So you have a little bit more control over the number of hotels that you see at any one particular time. So you just simply open it up, view rates, find a rate. I'm going to book. I'm going to go ahead and use the credit card guarantee. And I'm just going to reserve room. And it's as simple as that. You get your confirmation number here and displaying the PNR. The hotel segment will appear as 4 under the itinerary when you book it through the command helper option. Notice how when I booked my car, car shows 1 car here, hotel shows 1 hotel here. If I wanted to cancel the car from here, I can simply go in like I did on my itinerary segments. If I wanted to book the car from here, or excuse me, book a hotel from here, I can. Where do I go to book a hotel? I don't go to the hotel tab on trip summary. I go to the air once again and I choose add hotel. And what Sabre once again will do, will pull the arrival airport as well as the check-in date, the number of nights. It'll pull that detail from the itinerary and then the process starts over again. And through this method, the hotel segment is inserted in between the flights, but if it's not, or if it's not in the order that you would prefer it in the existing environment with new Sabre, you can reassign the segments by doing your insert after in the manual command area. Display A. And if I were ready to end and retrieve this record, I could simply do end and retrieve. Now, if I forgot my received from, Sabre gives you the option to actually add it here in a continuous motion without having to get out of the process. So I can simply add to PNR. It pulls up the receive from automatically. I can type in my name, add to PNR. And then likewise, without getting out of the sequence, I can simply do the retry. If the order is not there, I can just simply retry the system again, and Sabre will end the record. And now I can display the itinerary. And you notice I have the segments out of whack, but I can easily change that. So the reservation at this point under the traveler information is where your OSI information is. So if you're wondering when you book a car or hotel, the information for the OSI SSR, where is it found? because it's not a tab across the area here. It's found under traveler information because the programmers put it, since OSI SSRs usually are unique to an individual, they lumped it all together under the traveler information. So this is where you'll find all of the details for any car or hotels booked. This is also, if I wanted to cancel my hotel, I can delete. You notice before I do so, my modify the hotel has the same options. It is, for those of you that are using current Sabre to modify an already booked hotel, the process is absolutely fantastic because the system will do the work for you that we've had to rely on. So I'm going to try to add another night. And we know when we add night, Sabre kept giving this wonderful little error, and we'd have to do the process, and we would get very aggravated, and we would probably cancel the hotel and just book it from scratch. The system in New Sabre Red actually walks you through the steps that need to take place and will do the work for you. If it's available, it will allow you to modify it in one process as opposed to backing out and starting over again. So I did want to point that out. I also want to point out that if you deleted your hotel segment and you were looking for the cancellation number, once you do, once again, it would be under the traveler information under the SSR OSI, and there it is for the hotel that we've canceled. And then, of course, I can simply end the record again. It's going to ask me for the received from. Close, and then I can retry. And there we go. The one last feature of New Sabre Red that I wanted to bring up on this particular lesson, on this webinar today, is the Sabre add-on for what is called Trip Proposal. Trip Proposal allows you the ability to pull flights, fares, cars, and hotels without booking them and actually send an email to the traveler. And then it identifies the booking by way of a trip proposal number that you can then verify and validate when the traveler contacts you for information on that. So simple. How does this proposal work? Well, let's say I have a traveler who wants some flights. So I'm going to look at Dallas to Chicago on the 15th of November, coming back on the 25th of November. We're going to go for Thanksgiving. And I'm just going to shop airfare. And you start working with the traveler, and the traveler says, well, I don't have a lot of time. Can you just send me a couple of options? So sure. So Trip Proposal works like this. I can open up any option that I see, and when you activate Trip Proposal with Sabre, you'll see a Propose button. So right now, if you've upgraded to Sabre Red without Trip Proposal, you won't see the button. But since Virtuoso is on a beta testing, so you simply click the Propose button, and I'm going to go down and select another option. I'm going to select this Delta option. And I'm going to click Propose here. But with my Delta option, okay, maybe Sabre is going to have a little meltdown here. Oh, it's pulling some fare rule information. I'm going to look at the fare rules. And I've got the proposal here. Okay, I'm going to close that. So I've added a couple of proposal options. Now all of a sudden I see a little green dot under a clipboard. And what the traveler says, well, can you add a car to that? So sure. So I'm going to just do a car in Chicago, 5th of November, 8th of November. I like the 8th of November for some reason on this. And I'm not going to look at much on cars. He just wants a couple of things. So yeah, does he want information on Hertz? Okay, sure. So I'm going to click the propose button for Hertz. And then I'm going to do a hotel. And I'm going to shop hotels. And now with hotels, I've got a couple of ways. I can go in and shortcut. Let's say he likes the Hilton Chicago. So I'm going to do trip proposal 1, which is for line 1 in my manual command. That's going to add that. Oh, that's right. I forgot you have to have the rates up before you can do that. My bad. So I've got to be able to. Well, no, it looks like it is. I have to have these rates up before I can. So it's the actual rates that I can. But we're going to go in here. I've added the, since in an effort of time constraints, since we're almost at 2 o'clock, hotels would be added similarly. You can choose one or more hotels. You can choose one or more rates at a particular hotel. The proposal information you can continuously add. If you want to add more information, you have the little vertical dots that you can add more details. I can include the fare rules. So if I wanted to include the fare rules of this, it will pull up the fare rules. I'm going to click on all, include rates. The trip proposal ID is something that will attach itself. And every proposal that you send to your traveler, the trip proposal will be one way that you can find that proposal in the future. I will display the proposal as I have it so far. So here's the proposal that I have so far. There's the ID. I can choose to then add to it, delete this, or share it. When I click the word share, Sabre will create an itinerary-like document, have all the details, have the flight rules or the fare rules that I selected for that particular option. I can copy, and then I can move that over to open up my Outlook or whatever email server you use, and I could paste that into the email and generate an email to the traveler. Why is that so incredible? Because you haven't booked anything, and if the traveler calls you back and says, I was sent a proposal and I'd like to talk about it. Well, you could ask for the proposal by way of either the traveler's name, the email address that was used, or the proposal ID that was used. Now I'm going to go by traveler name, and I'm going to put mine in. And the travel proposal that I did the other day is up here. Here's one of the travel proposals that I just did. So it actually shows the number of proposals. I can validate the proposal number. I can open it up. And for each item in there, Sabre has the ability to open it up, to validate if the price is still the same as what was on the quote, which it is, and in an instant, if the traveler wanted that proposal booked, you can go in and simply click the word book, and there we go, folks. Now I know this is on top of the LaGuardia trip that I have, but Sabre books the proposal based off of the proposal information if it matches. A very, very unique add-on that currently doesn't have an option in the current Sabre Red Workspace, and one that I think that as you take a look at the options and upgrade, that you may find it beneficial for your traveler needs. So with that being said, that takes us right to 2 o'clock, and I know we have a couple of questions. And let me go ahead and answer those questions. I am going to pause my set here. For some reason, my screens are not cooperating with me, so bear with me for just a minute. So I'm going to pause right there. And let's get to these questions. Let's see, the first one. Do you always have to fill in the city, date, time when you have an air PNR for the car? I think I showed, if not, no, you don't. You can use the trip summary, and adjacent to the flight, use the 3 vertical dots, and you can incorporate the details for your car directly in there. How do you reply to the passenger's original email with the proposals? You would email the traveler. The traveler would receive the email and could actually email you back based off of what the address from the email is, or they could email you with simply the trip proposal ID. And the proposal ID, then you've got the ability to pull up the proposal with that ID. The third question was the cost of trip proposal. Since this is currently in beta testing with Sabre, we still do not know what the add-on cost is for each agency. I'd like to suggest that as you upgrade to the new Sabre Workspace, that you work with your owner manager and contact the Sabre administrator for your agency to get with Sabre to get more information on what those costs are. And then there were a couple of questions that came through the chat panel. Let me read here. Your core agency profile, this is a really good question. In the new Sabre Workspace, the core agency, close that out, the core agency profile would be one most likely that you've created under either agency or corporate. And moving forward, this is where you would go to pull those details over in the new Sabre. You'd still go to Sabre Profiles. So if you're used to doing end display, something, end item now move, this is where you would go forward to do that. You would choose profile. You'll know whether it is a agency or a corporate profile, display it, and then do the search profiles and do the move from that location. Another question, delete segments when you book from the proposal. When you book from the proposal, let me resume the share here. You can still display the PNR as you've booked it, and you choose the word itinerary, and this is where you have the ability to delete the entire itinerary or individual segments. And then the last question. Okay, so there's just 2 of those that came through. So I believe that I've answered the questions that came through both. I want to thank you very much for listening in on the presentation today. The recording for this will be placed on, as I mentioned, virtuoso.com probably by the end of tomorrow or on Monday. Once again, if any of you are traveling to Virtuoso Travel Week at the end of next week, on Sunday the 12th, I will have a 1-hour presentation on the new Sabre Workspace. If you'd like to stop on by, it's going to be in one of the rooms at the Aria. And I know some of you have also reserved to have time with me on Sabre throughout the week, and I look forward to meeting you if you have. Thank you so very much. I wish you a great rest of your day. Have a good day now.